notes on, the obstacles, right? So, that comes more with over time and with skill is identifying why they're going to say no. You have two different types of clients, one that's going to say no and the other one that's going to say, and they won't give you an answer, right? So you have to figure out, okay, let's get down to really why they won't, right? Commit. And so that comes in the form of questions they ask, right? When you pitch, they ask questions. Those questions are typically the obstacles, right? So if you can overcome those obstacles with strong value propositions, then you're kind of painting them in a corner where they can't say no, right? So when they walk away from your pitch going, yeah, why wouldn't I do that, right? Then you've addressed all the obstacles. You provided all the value propositions that they need, and you just need to make it easy for them.
So what I'm hearing is a lot of it is really trial and error for the specific product, unless you have someone in the company that can actively tell you what's going on, sort of like an inside person.
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I guess another question that Sean and I were discussing the other day was also with regards to the matter of a pricing model and how it might potentially appeal to companies. And this is very much just out of your own experience, what you've seen as people being more receptive to, because we were kind of describing the options of initially basically that this app can be opened up to a certain pool of people in the company, with say maybe 15% of the people in the company getting it for free, and the remainder having to pay a subscription cost, versus say the idea of just giving everyone say a free trial for say like a month or two, and then basically applying cost afterwards. So I was just curious as to which one of these two models do you think might be more effective at client retention?
What are you trying to address, and why did you come up with those models?
So I come up with the second model. The first model was idea from after talking to you. I think you mentioned something like that. But the second model, I got the idea from the AWS. You know how AWS give you free trial for like a year, and then after that they start charging you, few cents per data. So I feel like with that, because like we are such a relatively new, I feel like idea that people have to kind of like see and try out and see if it actually works for their company or not, or for their client, or even for like regular users. So I feel like giving them a trial or some sort of like giving it out some for free, it might give them an incentive. Look, okay, yeah, this, we can't live without this company, kind of thing, kind of like AWS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it depends on what your underlying assumptions are and what you want to address, right?
Right, right.
Um,
Our goal and mission is to bringing out the full potential in every employees or every users, individuals, because they sometimes lack motivation. A lot of times when I'm even like trying to start up this company with my friends, I'm losing a lot of motivation, but I try to kill self thinking and try to incentivize myself in different ways to keep going. So I feel like employees and other users can use the same type of tactic, but with technology. That's the great thing about technology.
mm, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
so I
makes
got
sense. Yeah, I mean, I think the underlying assumption that you're working with is that like cost is going to dictate whether someone does it or not, and depending on the market you're going after, small business, let's say under 5 million in revenue, that might be the case. What it cost might prevent them from jumping on board. So graduated, free to payment is certainly helping. helping them to evaluate it and see the value, before they buy.
Yeah.
When you get closer to, higher end of small and mid-sized companies, like over 10 million, over 20 million in revenue, cost is probably not going to be the factor,
Mm.
right?
Right.
Okay.
They have enough expenses and spend where no matter what you're charging, it's not going to make a big difference to them whether they go with it or not, right? They're already spending, $5 to $10 million on stuff.
Right.
So, whether you charge $500 or $5,000, it's not going to make a difference.
So at that point, it's a little bit more of a matter of basically having success stories.
Why? Yeah. Why would they want to spend the capital and resources to do it? Because there's, 5 million different products, and maybe there isn't any equivalent product like this, but there's 20 other products in other verticals that they'd like to try. Maybe they haven't started their cybersecurity um, journey, so that's kind of next on their list of things to address. And if employee enhancement or employee performance enhancement is number 10 on the list, then you gotta help them figure out like why it should go from 10 to 1 or 2, right?
Help them bump it up.
Yeah. And that comes through relational side of sales, right? When you're doing the sales and pitching to the customer, you gotta understand their pain points, you gotta understand their needs, you gotta understand um, their own future projections and what they want to do, and then how does that tie into what you are providing. So if their performance enhancement is number 10, and cost is not an issue, um, they're going to say no.
So that brings up a very good point. In terms of having a more designated sales and business development arm of things. In your experience when you first started developing your product, how did you go about actually reaching out to companies and organizations and therefore basically getting in the room so you can even make a pitch?
Yeah, so that's all about networking. It's just getting out there. Hitting the streets,
Mhm.
hitting the social media channels.
Do,
Um,
do you have any experience in your first start when you first pushed out your product that you wanna give us a little?
yeah, I mean, what was really important was just kind of being unashamed to practice, right? So, there were two elements of sales for me is, business development and recruiting. So, I was always trying to hire more people and I was also trying to acquire new business.
Right.
So in those two different areas, you just have to practice. Practice makes perfect, right? So what we would do is we would call each other and leave messages, right? We'll call each other and leave messages, and we would evaluate, the sound, the experience, and then our willingness to buy, right? Our willingness to move forward, right? And then where it didn't work out, you got to be really, um, humble in order to constructively criticize each other to be better, right?
Right.
Um, all in good faith. We never said, "Hey, man, that was horrible," right? But in a positive way, yeah, that's not going to move me, right?
Right.
It's not working. It's not, it's easy to say why it's not going to work. It's hard to demonstrate how to make it better.
Right.
So your goal as a team is to try to make each other better.
That's a great quote. That's a great quote. Yeah. With that
So
said,
find clients and customers that you're not really interested in,
Mhm.
and call them anyway and sell it. You know,
cold calls kind of thing. Just
Yeah.
get yourself out there. Yeah.
yeah, cold call, pretend like the cold call is a real call. I mean, you just have to get reps And, nobody's going to be able to shoot threes, consistently if they never practiced, right?
How did you go about putting together a team that focused more on the sales portion of things?
We did it organically. So the people that were on board were the ones that were going to sell it, right? So we just got the team together, focus on training and sales internally, organically, uh, and then trial by fire. Keep getting better, hone in, practice a lot. It's just like any other exercise, right?
Yeah.
Every day we're going to meet for an hour and practice. We're going to shoot threes. And 3 months from now, then we're going to go to the game. Then we're going to play a real game, and we're going to try to win. We don't win, we practice again, train again, work on the things that we need to work on, right? You approach it very, very logically, like you would anything else,
Right.
Okay. So relating to that, I first approached you on LinkedIn. I don't know how's your time doing, by the way, Mr. Ra. Is it okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good. Keep talking. I need to check.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I actually missed another meeting before this meeting because my other meeting ran long. So let me check in on some people.
I told you, Alex, he's a busy guy.
Yeah.
He has to be. He's running 60 plus people.
Yeah.
I first approached you in LinkedIn asking for a developer mentorship kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because our developers are, we're kind of pivoting and we're kind of having hard time, keeping to the deadlines. So, but I remember you said business development, recruiting. I know for a fact, being an intern there, that your recruiting is tremendously awesome. So I was wondering, like, I've been having hard time as like the CEO position of recruitment. It's really hard to find people, find the right people. Just, REDALPHA has such amazing people and such amazing interns. Like, how are you able to, get to that point? What's your, like, secret to recruiting?
I think, so when we started day one, we all sucked at selling. We all sucked at recruiting. That wasn't what we were good at. What we were good at was developing, developing software. We had to learn how to sell. We had to learn how to recruit. And the stronger you believe in the product, the easier the selling and recruiting becomes, right? And once you really believe in the product and the product is beneficial, like two-way, right? There's obviously product benefit, right, in acquiring a good developer, in acquiring a good client. But what's the benefit to them, right? How do they fit in, right? These are things that you develop over time. So, artifacts, like I created a pitch deck, and I honed in on the pitch deck until it was, perfect, right? And every time I had a call, I developed a call plan. And the call plan is something that was instrumental in sales becoming better, right? So call plan is pretty simple, right? The call plan is what you describe. What do you think is important? What are the several elements that you want to get a point across to the other person? What do you want the outcome to be, right? Once we identify, the 3 or 4 bullets that are important for a call plan, a call plan being a plan for the call that you're about to have, right? And then once you hone in on that, maybe about like 6 months, we got a pretty awesome call plan with a ton of objections that we would overcome easily. When a meeting came up and, it's like, what's the gotcha, right? You address all the gotchas ahead of time, um, and you have an answer for each of the obstacles, then, the client or the customer or the referral or recruit, they have confidence, right? They're like, oh, I didn't get to stump the chump. They actually thought about this. They have a well-formed opinion. They have a good plan. And yeah, I'd love to join in and execute with them. Right.
Take some inspiration from those pitches from Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah. Yeah. So as you develop that, yeah, and you can start with other call plans. You can start with other pitch decks. But you got to own it, right?
Right.
It has to have your flavor, and your company's bias and fingerprints into it. Because everyone can tell when you're just like reading, something. Yeah. If it's not yours, then it's pretty easy. Now, to the same degree, it's okay to read something, right? And you just have to believe it. You just got to start somewhere, right?
So how much do I know it depends on the product and depends on the, especially in software case, the the complexity of the software. But how much do you think do you usually outsource whenever you know, because right now I'm looking into hiring because of our deadline. I'm looking into hiring a Fiverr developer to
Mhm.
finish some certain aspect of the software so we can get it into the timeline. So do you suggest outsourcing a lot or like a little bit or
Yeah, I mean, I've had some luck outsourcing, but you also get what you pay for. So, if you outsource to, let's say, India, right? It's like really cheap, but you kind of get what you pay for. Um, Fiverr, for the most part, I think is kind of similar. Like the way you get ahead in Fiverr is you make it repeatable, right?
uh, okay.
For instance, if you have a marketing graphic or something, artists are all over Fiverr, right? They love Fiverr because, they make it once, they slightly customize it, and they resell it, right? So there's value for the artist. And then there's value for the clients because, it would have taken them forever to do it, right? On the development side, I'm not 100% sure because I haven't used Fiverr. I've used, organizations like TopTal. TopTal is TOPTAL, TopTal. They're kind of high end on demand. So they have really good resources. I mean, they're like really solid developers.
Oh wow.
That you can hire on demand. Um, but, but yeah, I mean, so TopTal will evaluate the artist, the UX, the developers, and select top talent to be a part of their surge support. Fiverr, you know, if if you have internet and
Anyone can do it.
you can sign up to provide something. So the onus is on you to interview them and interview them really well. Uh, there's other, I don't know what the equivalent would be, but for design, there's things like 99 Designs. I like using them for graphics and motion and such type of support. Basically, you put a bounty on it, and people will compete, for the prize.
Hmm.
So you'll get tons of great material. You select one winner, and the
Oh
winner,
wow.
gets the booty. But um, it's that's worked out really well for graphics. I'm not sure if they have an equivalent for development, but
Oh wow. Okay. Um, I think that's all my questions on the recruitment side.
mm,
But you know,
yeah, you
it's
gotta focus on interviewing, and interviewing for quality is a skill.
interview for quality.
Because a lot of people can talk, and a lot of people will talk about, what they do and how they can do it really well. But it's like sometimes it takes experience to figure out whether they're really good or not.
Have you put together any tasks or assignments for people to basically practice on to show their skills?
Like code review?
There's a ton of quiz programs online. Some of them free, some of them paid services where it's basically an interview. Like a video interview or like a Q&A developer interview.
Right.
You can just send them a link and they can take a quiz and you get a score.
Okay.
We haven't used any of those, but you can use that
Yeah.
in lieu of an interview. But it's probably better than not, but it also adds time to your process.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. I forgot to mention, as soon as we kind of all like huddled up in the beginning of the meeting, but I really greatly appreciate your advices and your mentorship here. You really don't have to do this, but you're taking your time to give us your industry know-hows, for
Mhm.
example. So, I mean, within my culture or our culture, I'd never forget someone who I have like a kind of like a debt to. I know it's not a debt, but
Mm.
so I just wanted to
No,
mention.
I'm paying it forward. People helped me when I
Exactly,
started.
you are paying for it,
Really
but
appreciate it.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
promise that once we get off the you know a launch pad, we'll make sure to support you
Mm.
in any ways that's possible. So I just want to say I really greatly appreciate you, Mr. Ra.
Yep, yep.
Very much so.
Yep. Yeah, I don't always have the time, but I'm willing to help you guys out. The sales part is probably one area that I could maybe help you with some immediate impact.
Okay.
Um,
Yep.
you guys got to get your pitch honed pretty well for recruiting and for sales.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
me and Alex is working on right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's probably one of the big takeaways that I got from this call right now. Because in addition to simply just setting up targets, KPIs, and basically number of clients and how it's going to affect revenue, just setting up a whole sales strategy and/or sales team to actually focus on that. I think that that's probably going to be another project that we're going to have to take on in order to effectively execute the rollout.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really not hard, right? You come up with the pitch deck. You pitch Sean, right? And the question is, are you moved, right? If
Yeah.
you're not, keep trying, you
Practice
know,
make perfect.
and vice versa. Somebody else pitches Alex, hey Alex, are you moved? If
Yeah.
not, you keep going, right? You have to compel somebody to move.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, it's a bit of a challenge in its own right, and the trial and error is very much a big factor. I was hoping that I could throw it out there and hope that there might be a little bit of a magic formula to it, but no, just simply is trying it out and seeing what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. What's gonna work for you guys might be different than what worked for me and what worked for someone else, right? And what worked for somebody to secure $100 million might not be what you need to secure the next client,
Yeah.
right? You kind of have to just own it, right? So the hard part is a lot of times people will see what was successful, and they'll try to emulate that, and that won't always work, because if you look at what Airbnb did to secure whatever $1 million, well, that was at a stage in a game that might be different than the stage in the game you're in,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of people will make a mistake of trying to do what somebody else did, and it's like, oh, like for me, like if I see Booz Allen and I'm like, oh, Booz Allen is cool, like I'm gonna do what Booz Allen does, and it's like that's not gonna work for me, right?
Booz Allen is too massive to compare.
Yeah,
And
but you get the point. It's like you gotta. People miss the fact that there's a process and a journey, and things change based on the step and the journey that you're in.
Mhm.
So
keep learning.
what may work for you guys day 180 may not work for you day 20.
Yep,
You know.
exactly. Everyone's different. I think every company has different
Mhm.
pathways.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, we were a bunch of developers. We didn't know how to sell anything, and somehow we turned it out. So you kind of have to just run with the grit and keep going, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I think that is probably one of the greatest advice. At least in our standpoint right now, because we don't really know like what to do. But I think we just need to get the pitch deck and like get everything like honed down, and then keep trying and erroring. Making sure that we.
Mhm. Yeah, and if you can make it easy, make it easy. Start with a pitch deck that's out there in the universe.
Yes, sir.
Everybody uses Airbnb's pitch deck. Like start with that, right? And then give it a shot.
Yes, sir.
And then ask yourselves, well, did that move me? Did that move you? And
But
if it did, go with it. If it doesn't, find something else.
yeah, last time you were mentioning when I pitched you the product, that you weren't really into the enterprise side, but rather the general user base side. I wasn't really. I think we were running out of time too, so I kind of wanted to go more in depth. Like, why do you think that enterprise side is more? I mean, it is harder, but like, what do you think there? What are the flaws that you see in it that we can fix?
Mm, what would have to go over it again?
Okay.
I don't remember offhand, but it's kind of more of a practice session, dry run, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to set up a dry run, like meeting next time,
Yes, sir.
then we can do that,
Okay.
right? And then it's like you just got to get a lot of repetitions in, right? I'll give you 5 minutes, okay, and then I'll talk to you about like what's good, what's bad, what needs to change. You go change it, and then you try again, right? You just get like 4 or 5 reps in.
So, like earlier example that I made, if we get a enterprise beta version out, would you be willing to try it for free on your company for your employees?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Just
Yeah,
for
I
exposure.
I, I got to talk to some people, about like how to roll it out, but yeah.
Yeah. I think major thing in our pitch for our software is that since you work with softwares with data in cybersecurity, I was wondering our niche and our what makes us a lot different from like bubbly and stuff like that is the data. I believe we can definitely gather a lot of data for the
Hey,
employees.
I have to cut out for another meeting.
Oh yes, sir. I'll
Um,
see you then.
I'll be available again at 3:30 if you wanted to chat again, but I have to cut off for
It's fine.
a meeting real quick.
I'll meet you like next week or 2 weeks later, whenever you're free.
Okay,
Okay. All right.
sounds good.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right.
Thanks so
Thank you, sir.
much.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
How was the meeting, Alex?
I think it went well. I think that we just figured out that we're going to need another department for sales.
I think what he meant is like just like he said, there were a bunch of developers and they were able to do sales as well. I think it really runs down to maybe we can get like a one sales consultant, but other than that, what I'm thinking is like I want to get like one. I don't know if you remember Elizabeth. She
Hmm.
was joining. Yeah, Elizabeth would have been a very perfect candidate for like a sales outreach or client outreach,
Hmm.
but she's unfortunately can't join us because like she has a lot of projects that she's working on personally. But someone like her, who's good at sales, who's good at persuading people, and quote unquote manipulation.
Yeah.
um, uh, I think just having that like one person in the admin side will be good, but I don't think it's like completely necessary to have an entire department
And not necessarily an entire department, but I think it would be good to have a couple of people that are mainly designated towards that,
towards that.
to basically doing client relations, modifying the pitch deck. Because I mean, truth be told, and I kind of got this from yesterday, we didn't really talk about this so much. Like, we don't exactly have KPIs, like key performance indicators for what are going to be specific targets, how we're going to execute on this. And I mean, it would be great if we were to blow up in an app store, but honestly,
Not
that
guaranteed.
no, it's not guaranteed, and that is a little bit of a crapshoot. So honestly, I would very much like the idea if we could expand on that enterprise model, just so that way maybe we can get to the point of break even somehow.
Bootstrap, like you
Yeah,
said, bootstrap model.
and also investors will feel a lot happier if they actually see that
Yeah, he's
even if we're not at break even yet, or rapidly going towards break even.
yeah. The investor were like, they're still making a lot of money from the enterprise side. I don't really care what happens to the general app
Yeah.
store. People could hate it for God's sake.
I have a question. Is Mr. Rock from California?
No, 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 no. He's based right next to my house. He's based in
Really?
around this Maryland area.
I don't know what. I don't know why. He gave me very LA vibes.
I think I don't know. He actually graduated from College Park here, so
Okay.
um, yeah, he actually started it just like me. Like I don't know, 10 years ago. I'm just assuming, but he started it right after
Hmm.
he finished college, and then he went to as a developer. He worked for this company, like a consulting company, and then he started making his own company, and now he owns a multi 10 million, couple ten, probably like I
Hmm.
bet his company makes about like 30 million in I don't have no idea, but that's my guess. 30 millions in revenue.
Right. Huh.
Yeah, he's pretty prominent within this NSA area. He deals.
Mhm.
He's a cybersecurity company. I mean, come on, and he has 60 plus employees. So, for cybersecurity to be that big, you have good clients, good government
Yeah.
clients.
Nice part about government clients is that they're all credit worthy.
So, this is something that I haven't told you yet because it's still up in the air.
Hmm.
Me and Mr. O, he actually knows. So I'm in the DoD because I'm an Army Reserve
Hmm.
officer. So I have connections as well. But Mr. O was like, he knows someone within the DoD that just retired, is going to be in charge of like talent management for the entire DoD.
Hmm.
Like, so if we can really get this thing going and then land a deal with the DoD, like for the soldiers' talent management, you know,
Hmm.
why can't soldiers use our app? It doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So if we can get that, we're set for life. If
So I guess for that, I will ask you the same question that I kind of asked the other people that I'm working with for my business. In the case of, say, the one guy that's kind of like handling the front of working with mainland Chinese investors.
mm-hmm.
The question had been because it was a question of like there's a fear of investing abroad and a lack of track record. Those were
Right.
those were the two core issues. So fear of investing abroad can be fixed under the assumption that the person that's helping us there can basically be like a representative that they can trust. But for that, we need to fix the track record portion. So I kind of boiled it down to what number sounds sufficiently good that will make people feel happy in terms of like how much do we need to have under management? Not necessarily capital under management, probably more like real estate under management because that tends to be 4 or 5 times larger than actual investments.
Right.
So I was asking, what's the number that makes people feel good? Like you're small, but you're an up and coming company. I was like, is it 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million? He settled on 10 million, probably would make him feel pretty good. So I will extend that same question to you here. How many users and or how many companies, basically how many users, because that'll include how many employees to determine scale, how big or what benchmarks do you think we would need to hit to basically be able to then approach the DoD and as a major client?
Um. Um. To be honest, I feel like government. I feel like government companies don't really care for that, long as it's like a fall proof product. You know what I mean?
But
Um.
I think, so at the very least, we'll actually need to have it running to basically make sure that we work out any kinks. But isn't there a certain element of like we would need to have some sort of record for
Yeah.
legitimacy?
Yeah. I mean, if we do have to come up with some number, I say at least 50,000 user that we need to uh, get. But even I don't, but at least 10,000, at least 10,000 before we can even think about approaching
Mhm.
the government facilities like DoD.
All right. So basically, at least 10,000, both to test out the product as well as to get some very basic legitimacy. But 50,000 would make us look a bit more serious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 50
Okay.
after 50,000, we can definitely have a negotiation card. But um, with that said, that's still up in the air. That's something that just a brainstorm idea that me and
Mhm.
Mr. O was thinking about because I personally know how terrible the Army and DoD talent management software is. They use like stuff from like the 90s and stuff. So
That does not surprise me. There are some things from the 90s that age well, like the F-22 software, not so much.
that's why government contract companies and consulting companies are so in demand because the government constantly needs updates. Because as soon as something rolls out, it's already out of trend.
Yeah.
uh,
So now I kind of have a question more in the goal setting arena. Say that in order to have very basic legitimacy as well as to have the product sufficiently rolled out that we can actually improve the product. So let's say that that number is 10,000 users.
hmm
How and when can we go about getting that? So now it becomes the thing of like, what's the strategy? You said product is going to be ready in August, right?
Yeah. So
What? Yeah.
yeah, so like what I was trying to mention at the end of it before he left, what I was gonna ask him was the data portion of it. Like
Yeah.
you are very obsessed too about which you should, which we all should, because data is very important in terms of revenue model and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Uh, so I think that's gonna be a huge differentiation from company using other, companies or products,
Yep.
because our data that we collect from the employees, that goal settings and stuff like that, it's a lot extensive than all the other softwares out there. You know what I mean? Compared to a basic my fitness app,
Yeah.
yeah, they collect data, but what like our data is like a lot more catered to individuals and that the company wants to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Assuming that we actually do get to that level where we actually can approach government agencies, at that point I can actually spend a little bit of effort reconnecting with people at the companies that I work for at Pfizer and Macquarie Group, both of which companies that have tens of thousands of
Oh
people,
yeah.
and I can work on that as well. But yeah, I mean, you did say that for the enterprise version, the data portion is not going to be such a big element, right?
Yeah, we can roll out enterprise within next month or so, I think.
Uh, oh, yeah, but what I mean is that data is not going to be a source of revenue for the
Oh,
enterprise.
for enterprise. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it is definitely, when I say not source of revenue, technically it is the source of revenue because data is what differentiate us from other people because
right,
we are going to show the data to the companies, but we're not going to sell it to, third parties,
right,
But data is definitely important where, hey, companies, look at all the data. We're selling these data to you. You know what I mean? We're
right.
giving it back to you from what we collected from your employees. So, yeah, they're going to help with the revenue. So, technically, they are for revenue, but, not directly.
So,
Indirectly revenue.
so it's basically we collect the data, analyze trends, and basically sell it back to the clients that are already using the as like an additional tech consulting thing.
Right. So, like, for example, let's go ahead with Pfizer. Pfizer has 10,000 employees, but out of the 10,000 employees, how many employees are interested in virus data science certifications, for example, like hundreds are. Like for example, 200 employees are interested out of 10,000,
Hmm.
then the Pfizer company will have a great aspect of, okay, maybe we need to do this to increase our number or increase our efficiency of the company. Without data like that, they won't be able to aspect that.
Um, so, do you think that perhaps it might be good to realign the admin team as a whole to maybe also taking on a role of trying to basically source out clients as well.
Yeah, that's what I wanted Elizabeth to do, but excuse my language, she freaking left. So,
Right.
but I'm currently in the works of looking for like a sales entrepreneurial, like kind of
Mm-hmm.
like us, who's like very, go getter kind of type of mind that can be our client outreach specialist or something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be a.
And from my experience and from what I heard from my mentors is that it should be. I know this is very like, it's not wrong. It's very like stereotypical to say. It should be a female, and it should be very persuasive, and it should be very they should be energetic. You know what I mean? You know, they
You will notice a fairly similar demographic among a lot of both investor relations and client relations people.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I'm
It's
not wrong on
it's
my. It's just facts. It's just facts. On our.
it's a it's a sucks to say. The world is as it is. You didn't create it. You just need to work within whatever framework it is.
I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's what they're good at. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
relationship and outreach and you know, what do you call it? I don't want to say manipulation. I want to say like persuasiveness. They're very persuasive.
Well,
Um,
God knows I'm a little bit too abrasive for that.
and it would be better. We before Elizabeth, we were going to hire this person called Nina. She's a blonde Caucasian woman. She's very
Mhm.
mature. She's like in her mid 30s. So she looked so professional. She looked like,
Mhm.
and she wrote like 4 articles. So we were and 2 masters, and I'm like, bro, like person like that will be a perfect fit for like client outreach. What kind of like I already had trusted her. I was like, you're hired. She has so much trust in her life. Like she's already married. She
Mhm.
doesn't have any kids though. So like
Yep.
those factors I think matters in terms of business. For the company. So I know it's very biased to say, but
No, I was just thinking about some. So remember how I said in particular mainland China is a very interesting animal when it comes to investor outreach.
oh yeah, I'm very yeah. I get it. I'm
Oh,
recording this, so don't say anything weird. I already said it too much, but I'm actually recording this. But for Mr. Ra, I totally
yeah.
forgot to stop recording. But I'll stop recording right now. Is there anything you should say before I stop recording?
Nope.
Okay.